Welcome back. It's Tuesday Talks time. Your host, John Robinson, here with you. Sorry for the little delay there at the beginning. I just got done cleaning up. You know those big, huge jugs that you get at Costco of all of your washing, what do you call it? The wash detergent for your laundry. Well, that thing was sitting on top of the washing machine, and apparently somebody didn't notice it. It was kind of rattling around. It dumped, the lid broke, the entire laundry room floor covered in laundry detergent, liquid laundry detergent. And so that happened today. So it feels kind of like it should be a Monday. But anyway, had to get it all cleaned up. Lost a couple of rugs that we used to wipe up and towels. And I don't know how many times I washed my hands since then, but can't get the laundry detergent to smell out. I don't know. Can you guys smell that? Anyway, lots of fun. So hope you're having a great day. If that's the worst thing that happens to me today, then I'm totally fine with that. By the way, if you guys are watching live right now, if you're tuning in live, would you please drop a comment? Let me know that you're here with us. Let me know that we actually got this thing going live. Every once in a while, we get things going, and I don't know that it's actually not working until I start seeing some comments on my phone. So if you guys are here with us, appreciate that. Okay, so Andy says he can see and hear us. Perfect. Andy, I'm looking forward to you getting back from your trip and hearing what you got going on down in Florida. If you're watching this later, if you're watching the live, not the live, but you're watching this on a recap, I would like to tell you guys this. You can totally post your questions or comments. We're going to go back and try to answer these things on upcoming shows. So if you have a question, of course, you're here live, you can ask your questions right now. Just go ahead and post it in the comments and I'll be getting to it. I have a little bit of a theme I want to talk to you about today. And it's really kind of based on like a recap of the Tuesday Talks presentation I did last week. And here's why I'm doing that. So by the way, a little backstory. If you guys were not on the live stream for Tuesday or for the PDX REI Group, PDX REI Group meetup we normally do on the third Thursday of the month in Portland. Wasn't able to make that one live because of a funeral that had to be attended. But doing that funeral kind of messed up my timing. I wasn't able to be in Portland. But what I did do was we did a live stream. Never done that before. We live streamed to the PDX REI group. I heard there was a great group turnout. Had some food there. You guys got to hang out. Everything that you normally did. It actually kind of made me feel like maybe, I don't know, maybe you guys don't need me anymore. You're able to just do all this stuff on your own. PDX REI group meetups. I don't even need to be there. I hope that's not the case, but we did do a broadcast into that, and I had a lot of good feedback from that. In fact, some people asked me if they can get replays. I had a couple of people ask me for some of my notes from that presentation. So I thought, well, why don't we just talk a little bit about that today? And the presentation that I gave at that PDX REI Group meetup last week for the live stream this theme was discovering your investor DNA. Discovering your investor DNA. And I'll just say this right up front, like I did last week. Most real estate investors don't struggle because they're lazy or because they're somehow or another just not smart enough. It's really none of those things. By the way, we give ourselves sometimes excuses they don't apply to us, but we like to try to make it feel like well, that's just must be what it is. I'm just not smart enough, or maybe I'm just not diligent enough. And I would say that most real estate investors, when they feel like they're struggling, they're not really getting where they want to go, they're not where they want to be yet. I would say it's more often than not, at least it was in my case, and I've seen this in so many people that it's worth talking about. Say more often than not, it's because they're misaligned. What do I mean by misalignment? Well, what I mean is this. I mean, you are trying to operate in a particular space in the real estate, business, right? Everybody knows real estate has a ton of different opportunities, right? There's so many short-term rental, long-term rental, mid-term rental, there's flipping, there's wholesaling, there's multifamily, there's single family, there's syndication, there's fundraising. There's so much stuff that you can do in the real estate space that sometimes you're trying to operate or you're bouncing from one thing to the next, and you're not really feeling like getting traction. And certainly it can be because you're trying to do too many things at once. But it also, a lot of times, it could actually be the fact that you're just doing things that aren't in alignment with who you are. I mentioned that Myron Golden is one of my coaches. I have a lot of different mentors in the real estate space. Myron Golden is one of my favorites, not so much in real estate specifically, but just business coaching. And by the way, if you guys are interested in getting in Myron's coaching program, please look me up. Let me know. I'd be happy to share you a link. It's a syndication or affiliate code link. It's not like it pays a lot of money, but it definitely, I love being able to refer people. I will say this, it's not cheap, so be prepared to shell out. But boy, it's been worth every penny that I've paid so far. So if you guys are interested in that, let me know. But Myron Golden says a lot of things, but one of the things he says is you got to learn how to get in alignment with your assignment. Somebody type that in the chat, right? Somebody type in alignment with my assignment. I'd love to see this in the chat. You guys help me blow up the chat here. Hey, there's Peggy. Peggy says, I'm here. Peggy says, I am so misaligned. I hear you there, Peggy. You've got to learn how to get in alignment with your assignment, okay? How do we get in alignment with our assignment? Somebody type it in the chat, alignment with my assignment. The reason why I believe that is so important is because if you are doing something that is just not, it's just not you, right? Maybe you've had a job. Okay, I know for several years I had a job that a lot of people in the construction space, they would have kind of looked at it like, man, John, you have really, you've really got it, right? You've got construction background, allowed me to get in with a contractor out at Intel. Being out there long enough and kind of getting around some people and fixing some problems, I was able to kind of position myself at a place where I didn't really have a ton of work to do. In fact, as long as I was there, I was available, kind of on call. It was really a cushy job. The work that I did do was super easy. There was nothing special or hard about it, and it was like like this dream job. And yet, I here's what I mean by alignment with my assignment is I was not happy in that job because of this one reason. I knew that that's not what I was built for. I knew I was built for something more than that. I knew I was built for more than just cushy coasting construction, which sounds kind of like an oxymoron, right? Construction work doesn't typically remind you of something cushy or coasting. But here's the deal. I'd worked myself into a position. I got some things figured out. I had the right kind of team. And I just was basically there all day, just kind of hanging out and didn't have a lot of pressure, didn't have the responsibilities that I had once had. And I actually wasn't happy. Sounds crazy, but I wasn't really happy in that job. A lot of people would have loved to have my job, but I got tired of it. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Raise your hand, make a comment. Peggy says alignment with my assignment. Hey, there's Carolyn. Good to see you, Carolyn. Duncan, good to have you here today. Thanks, sir. Duncan Smith in the sticks, out in the sticks. You must be out in, I don't know where you're at, Duncan, because there's a lot. That's the sticks describes a lot of places here in America. But let me get back to the theme here. I want to try to keep it on point today. The point I'm trying to make is this. When you're doing something that even if other people would be like, oh, what a great job, or oh, what a great opportunity, but it just isn't resonating with you, it's just not doing anything for you, you're just not feeling it, I guess would be one way to put it, then you might have to check and make sure that you're in alignment with your assignment. And so we talk about alignment in the sense that you might have tried to do different strategies and just nothing's really stuck yet. Or you might have even made some money on some deals, but the process, the whole thing, it just kind of felt nasty. Like for instance, I'll give you an example. Me personally, I am not a passive real estate investor. Okay. What do I mean by that? I mean, I am not the kind of person who just wants to take a chunk of money and put it into some syndication on some 250 unit apartment complex in, Branson, Missouri, and just be like, well, yep, I'm a real estate investor, and just give my money over to somebody else, let them do what they want to with it, with the property I'm never going to see, I don't know anything about, I don't know the people there, I'm just, collected check. That's just not me. It's just not me. Now, it might be me down the road, but at this stage in my life, it's just like I have no interest in that whatsoever. So I get, people, hey, check out this deal. Hey, make sure, it's like you could talk about the returns, but the problem is just, it ain't me. It ain't me. You guys know what I'm talking about? Where you have this deal or you have this great opportunity and it's real estate related and you've done this and some of you have even made money doing it and you just were like, this is it. You know what I'm saying? Um, if you feel like you haven't just found your lane yet, then I want to just say this as a suggestion. Might not be the case for you, but it's probably closer to the truth than you might think. You're probably not the problem. Your approach is. Okay. The lane that you've settled in isn't your lane. That's kind of what we talked about at the meetup last week. Let me check the comments real quick. Duncan says, "Align with my assignment in the sticks." Oh, he's in Missouri. Yeah, I hope. Oh, is he in Branson, Missouri? I think Branson's a place. Hey, Duncan, glad to have you here, man. When in alignment, Andy says it will flow naturally, even with the struggles. Yeah, there's a great illustration. Look at how the Columbia River is at the ocean, but starts with little streams that flow through rocks and curves. Man, old Andy Bauman, the renovate guy's handyman, is waxing philosophical here. I love it. Well, it's not, and he's not wrong too. You know what I mean? It's like you have so many things you could do in real estate, but not everything is for you. And so when you look at how you're approaching, what lane you're in, a lot of people miss this. They think real estate is just about making money, and they will actually. And don't get me wrong, real estate is about making money. Okay, we don't want to be on this show today. Take the next 30 minutes together and pretend like as if we're not in this to make money, right? But the thing is that people will allow for a time in their real estate career, their walk, their journey for what they call a learning curve, right? You come into real estate, you understand you don't know everything. You got a lot to learn, right? That was me, man. When I did my first flip accidentally and then I started doing it on purpose, I was like, there's so much stuff that I didn't know, even though I was a construction guy, even though I felt very confident in certain aspects of it, I had zero idea about other aspects of it. I mean, like probably less than nothing. Some of you would be better off because you just assume you don't know anything. I was just like, well, I know, like I've been in construction and this is how hard can it be? And I found out how hard it could be. But the thing is like we expect there to be a learning curve, but what a lot of people don't acknowledge or they don't allow for is they don't allow for an alignment curve. Okay. Did you catch that? By the way, somebody say alignment curve. Somebody type it in the chat, alignment curve. I want to make sure you guys are with me on this because this stuff is so important. You've got to make allowance for the alignment curve, not just the learning curve, but your alignment curve. See, real estate doesn't have just that learning curve. It has the alignment curve. It has the place where you have to figure out like, what is it that's for me? See, most investors, they respond to frustration. They get frustrated about where they're at or really where they're not at, where they wish they could be or they think they should be. And they respond to that by adding more hustle, right? More tactics, more deals. Or can I get a witness on this? Say amen if this is you. More courses. Maybe if I just buy one more course, this is going to be the thing that's going to be for me, right? But listen, hustle only works when you're aimed in the right direction. I say it again, your hustle will only work if you are aimed in the right direction. And I think that's the part that a lot of people don't get. You can have the energy, you can have the desire, you can have the information, you can even have the willingness to go out and do the work. But if your alignment is out of whack, then your hustle isn't going to make up for that. Okay? Hustle's not going to make up for it. Peggy says alignment curve. It's exactly right. It's just like a learning curve, except for in some cases worse. Because I know people, it seems like they've been in real estate or they've been in business forever and ever and ever, and they just still haven't quite landed on something. It's really not because they're not willing or they're not smart or they're just lazy. It's probably because of the fact they're not in alignment. So if you guys will bear with me for just a little bit, I'll tell you a little bit about my story real quickly. I'll give you some context about that first accidental flip. I bought that property for us to live in. Okay. So I didn't start out in real estate by looking to become a real estate investor. I started out by saying, I need to find a place for my family to live and I'm tired of renting. Okay. So we found a little property in Beaverton, Oregon. It was a listed property, but it was actually, I found it on Craigslist of all things. And Craigslist had a listing for an old car that was for sale there. My dad was looking for an old car to fix up during the winters in Alaska. So I went over there to look at this old car. And it just so happens, okay? Now, you guys, if you know anything about me, I'm a bivocational pastor. I'm a Christian. I don't apologize for that. I don't try to push that on anybody right now, but in this setting, but I will say I'm not going to apologize for that. So, um, anyway, I say all that to say I don't really necessarily believe in, chance per se. I believe in the scenario that a lot of people call chance, but what I'm saying is I think that everything happens for a reason. Okay, so here I am at this house. I'm going to look at this car, but it just so happened that like 2 days before, might have even been the day before that, my brother, who does missions work in Malawi, Africa, had sent me a link, and he said, "Hey, I know you're in construction. Have you ever looked into this?" And there was this link of this guy that was teaching basics like of real estate investing. Now, this is 2014, mind you, right? 2014, 2015. So there's not a lot of people on YouTube talking about this at that time. Not nearly as many as are on it today. But this particular guy made this statement. He said, sometimes the best way to get the best deals are to help people in a crisis situation. And I don't know why that stuck out to me, but it did. And now here I am at this house looking at this car for my dad in Alaska off of Craigslist. And I'm there at the house looking, and I'm noticing there's like a lot of tension. There's family members, there's people, there's a sheriff there. And I'm like, what's going on? And this lady, she's kind of crying. She says, well, my mother passed away. This was her house. My brother lived with mom, and now brother doesn't want to move out, but the house is the only thing that mom gave us, and we need to sell it so we can all get our portion. And she was 65, and she was the youngest of the four siblings, and everybody's needing to get their money out of this property. So she had to have, as the executor of the estate, she had to actually have the sheriff come out and evict her own brother, okay, so that they could actually get the house on the market and get it sold. Well, the house is not market ready at all. And this thing popped up in my mind. Hey, this is one of those crisis situations. Maybe I can help. Maybe I can offer a solution here that will somehow or another make me money down the road. I wasn't really thinking like make money per se. I was just like looking to get into a house of my own. And so I made an offer. I thought it was ridiculously low. It probably was. The family told me no. And then 2 days later, from the realtor, I got an email saying, hey, if you can come up with that money and have it closed in 30 days, they'll take your offer. Bada boom, bada bing. I'm in real estate investing. Didn't know it yet, though. And so fast forward, we got that house done, trying to get ready to move in, and we ended up selling it to a lady. She wants to move in because the house is in a neighborhood that's got the right program for her special needs daughter. And I was like, no, she asked me if we would sell it. It wasn't on market. It's not for sale. I wouldn't sell it for anything less than. And then she said yes to that. I fast forward a little bit more, and now we flipped a house, never lived in it, fully remodeled it, sold it to this lady, and I had enough money in my bank account after it was all said and done. Everyone was paid back. All my expenses were recouped. I had enough money that basically paid my entire year's salary working at Intel, which I was there at the time. So you can imagine my the wheels started turning, right? So what I did was I took a big chunk of that money and I invested in education. Immediately from the very beginning, guys, I have invested in education. I don't really sell a lot of stuff. I don't sell stuff on these programs, but I do some coaching. And one of the things that I've told people is I would never pay for coaching from someone who doesn't also pay for coaching. And you see what I'm saying? Like I don't believe that just because I have some experience or just because I have something to sell makes me a good coach. I believe that a good coach has to first of all be coachable and has to be coached. And so for the few things that I do actually provide an opportunity for people to come in and learn from me, I am very, very clear with people. Like, I just want you to know I'm charging this much money, and this is how much money I personally have paid to learn some of these things to allow me to be able to give it to you. So that's just a little side note. But I dove into real estate. I dove into education. I dove into everything. And here's the problem. I did do everything. I did everything. Over the last 10 years, I mean, you name it, I've done it. Wholesaling, flipping, Airbnb arbitrage, multifamily flips. I've done land deals. I've done development. I've done loans. I've bought businesses. On paper, it looks like I am very, very successful. In real life, what that translated to is I got tired, I got worn out, I got flustered. I ended up getting behind on things in the sense of there's stuff that was started slipping through the cracks because I was doing this, doing that. And am I doing this month or that month? Doing so much different stuff in the real estate space because I could, because the opportunity was there. And I thought I'm going to do it all so that I can, have all this acumen. And, to a certain point, it did pay off. But what happened was I just got wore out. I was scattered, I was tired. And I was like, man, is it really supposed to be this hard? And so building something that didn't feel like me or didn't really feel like the life that I wanted, or even though I was successful in many, many deals, and the fact of the matter is I don't say this at all to brag, but I have I have made literally millions of dollars transactionally, right, in revenue over the last 10 years in real estate deals. And which just sounds crazy, even coming from me to say that. It's like, man, like, yeah, I've done a lot, like tens of millions of dollars of deals. Okay. But this is what I learned is that you get to a point and the money is really not, I want to say not worth it because again, real estate is about making money. If you're making money in real estate, then that's one thing. Now it's another thing to be doing real estate and not be making money. But I was doing deals. I was making money. And there came a breaking point when one Sunday after church, both of us in our, church clothes, whatever those are for us, it was, I got my suit and my tie on, and my wife's got her pretty Sunday dress, and the kids are in the car with the car running in the parking lot, and we're out at an apartment turnover. I'm in a place that I had leased, and I had a sublease to do corporate rentals in their Airbnb, and we're up there changing the sheets on a Sunday right after church. I left right after the service was over, so we could get over there as soon as the tenant had vacated, and we had to do this turnover because we had an early check-in, and my cleaner had fallen through, and I wasn't able to get it done. And we're there, and I'll never forget. We're spreading the bed sheets and stuff, and my wife is spreading the sheets, and she's like, you do the thing where you hold the pillow and tuck the pillowcase in, and she looks at me and she goes, "What are we doing here?" And it was that moment of, I guess you could say like that song Moment of Clarity, right? It was like this question, what are we doing here? And it wasn't like, or what are we here to do? It was like, what are we doing here on a Sunday afternoon with the kids in the car? We haven't eaten anything. This is supposed to be kind of a day off, so to speak. We're supposed to be taking some time for, spiritual things, for family matters, for a little bit of rest. And we're up here in this apartment changing this thing. And it just kind of like, it really, really helped me. Okay. Now, by the way, some of you that have spouses or, good friends or maybe a significant other, and they speak to you sometimes in a way that you don't like because you probably know there's some truth to it, but you don't want to admit it. Thank God for people that'll be truthful with you, right? And so when my wife said that, it just kind of made me start thinking like, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? I'm already burned out. I'm already wore out. Is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? I didn't need another strategy. What I needed was I needed to get in alignment. So that's why I talked about the investor DNA. And because this is something that I kind of discovered. I had some help. Some of this is from some of my other mentors. Some of this is from my own observation. Some of this is from my own experience. But what I realize is that every investor, everybody in real estate, and I say investor, I use that term really broadly. Sometimes I say, flippers and wholesalers aren't investors because it's really more transactional. But I'm going to use the term real estate investor in a very broad, way right now. And I'll say that every real estate investor has a unique investor DNA. Okay. What exactly is that? Your investor DNA is like the intersection. It's the crossing of your personality, your strengths, your values, your vision, and your network, your ability to take risk, your willingness, your aptitude toward that. All of this stuff kind of ties together to make up your investor DNA. And the principle that underlies this is really, really simple. It's this principle, and it's a scriptural principle. Again, I'm not here to preach in this setting, but it's just an absolute truth that you can't avoid. Whether you want to call it, go back to the Bible or not, there's a principle here that being precedes doing. In other words, if you are a created being by design, then there's going to be certain things that when you do what you're designed to do, when you are operating in that function, in that capacity, things just work out better. When you are not operating in that capacity, you might still be able to function, but it's kind of like, it's kind of like a car that or a vehicle that has gasoline that has a lot of water in it. You're going to hit a lot of missing and you're going to be kind of sputtering and kind of limping along. You step on the gas and it doesn't really go forward, and then it catches and then it goes. All of that's kind of a way to that's how I look at this whole thing about you have a God-given identity that it really should drive your business model. And it's not the other way around. You shouldn't have a business model that drives you as a person. You as the person should identify, who am I? How do I best function? Who am I compatible with? Who am I made to be? And then get in the lane, get in assignment, get in alignment rather with that assignment, and you'll just be amazed at how much better things will go. Now, somebody type true in the comment if you believe and if you agree that this thing about assignment being connected to alignment is so true. Maybe you guys have figured that out already. Maybe I'm just kind of preaching to the choir, so to speak. It says, Andy says here, believe not in universe aligning everything, but believe in the one that created the universe. I love that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Peggy says, I'm worn out. Yep. Peggy, I hear that too. And I know you are, because Peggy is doing a lot of stuff. She's working a lot of jobs, working a lot of overtime, doing night shifts. She's showing up at these meetups. Carolyn says true. Yes, Carolyn, I agree. Andy says true. Yeah, it's just true. It's not like it's some kind of really big, deep, mystical thing that only I figured out. It's just a fact. When you have your God-given identity driving your business model, it just works. Now, it doesn't mean you won't have problems. That's not what I said. Doesn't mean you won't run into struggles. Doesn't mean you don't have to learn things. Because, I think about it like this, again, borrowing from scripture. And so we're going to get a little bit biblical today, right? So sue me. It's America. I say it's America. It's a semi-free country. But, you're not down with this. You can leave anytime you want. It doesn't bother me at all if people don't agree with this. But here's what I've noticed in the Bible. And Jesus goes and he calls his disciples to this great work, right? And he says, "Follow me, and you'll be fishers of men." Right? Remember that? He's talking to these fishermen, which, by the way, is really, Jesus is awesome because he picks these people that nobody would have picked. Right? No one would have picked a bunch of fishermen and a tax collector to go and literally change the world. But Jesus does. And so he says, "Follow me and I'll make you fishers of men." And then you see another place where he says the same thing, kind of the same story, but he says this, "Follow me and I'll make you to become fishers of men." And so this is how I look at that. If you are operating in the capacity or the alignment of the identity of who God made you to be, who you naturally are, if you'll do that, then that's obviously going to feel the most natural. It's going to be the most just functional. It's gonna work, right? But at the same time, you still have a lot to learn in that function. Does that make sense? You still have a lot to learn in that function. Just because you kind of like, hey, I think this is who I am. I think this is how I'm designed to be. This is how I best function. This is what makes things tick for me. This makes sense. That doesn't mean you now have like this yellow brick road where there's never any bumps. But you're going to have problems. You're going to have trouble. It's just you'll have trouble from doing things that are in alignment with your assignment rather than trying to figure this stuff all out while you go and not really having this assurance of like, this is who I am. This fits with who I am. So I talked about this at the meetup on Thursday night. Carolyn says, "I think I'm in alignment, full of peace, but not doing much of anything." Now, that's a great point, Carolyn. Thanks for bringing that up. So I want to say this about what Carolyn said. What I'm talking about should not translate, not that Carolyn's doing that, but I want to be clear. What I'm talking about should not translate into some kind of a just, sit cross-legged and just be, okay? So I don't think that there's the point here isn't just to sit and just to realize, oh, this is who I am. This is my identity. This is This is how I'm built and how I'm made. No, you've got to take that and put it into action. And so Carolyn, when I say this, I'm saying this with all love to you, and you and I have talked before. So I know that you can take a little bit, but you don't want to make the mistake of thinking that alignment is not going to have an assignment. Okay, alignment will absolutely have some assignment. In other words, there is going to be something to do that is directly related to, directly connected to, directly in line with your God-given assignment. Okay, so you have that assignment, you have that alignment, it's going to go together, those are going to be compatible. We got to be careful that we don't just have that faith without works. Okay, so in other words, we have to take the things that we say we believe about ourselves, about others, about God, about our opportunities, and we have to put that into some form of application. Does that make sense? You guys, if that makes sense, let me give me an amen in the comments. Right, this is getting a little bit preachy now, I guess. So, and you know what the problem is? My wife gave me a cup of coffee this afternoon, and it's my pastor mug. So that's probably the issue. Is I've got the pastor mug in my hand. It's coming out naturally. So I joke around about that, but the reality is like I don't have any problem at all kind of coming on and sometimes getting a little bit pastoral, put my pastor hat on a little bit because of the fact that when I talk about my God-given identity, I know who I am. And part of the things that I've learned from my time with the Lord, my time in reflection and meditation on scriptures and just my life, is that God's the one who gave me the identity, the assignment of being a pastor. So whether that and what that means is like whether I'm in a church or not, I'm going to be pastoring. Does that make sense? And that's because that's who I am. You see what I'm saying? So what the word pastor, if you guys speak Spanish at all, if you know anything, is pastor, right? It just means shepherd. So what I do is I just kind of end up shepherding people no matter where I'm at because that's who I am. Does that make sense? And some of you that know me well enough to know me personally, you know that that's just kind of how I do it. I try not to get all preachy on you, and I try not to tell you what to do, but I definitely have a way of kind of, getting in and saying, well, what about this? And kind of guiding and directing because that's just who I am. Now, somebody else, they are like, man, I don't want to have anything to do with any of that, but I'm really, I feel very comfortable in this setting over here. I was talking to somebody, just by way of quick illustration, I was talking to somebody that um, they sometimes have to be in a public speaking setting and they hate it. Like it's just they get nervous. They press through it, right? They choke through it. And sometimes the people listening, they have to kind of endure to the end as well. But this particular person, they just really don't like being in that setting at all. And the reality is they're not really that great at it either. It's one thing to not like it, but you're just naturally good at it. It's another thing to not like it and you're really not naturally good at it, but you kind of get forced to do it because it's part of the job description sometimes. Okay. Now, this same person, when they sat down and they were kind of going over some stuff with me and we were talking about some project and we were working on, and all of a sudden I'm seeing like, drawers opening up and file folders and everything's super neatly organized and structured and tabbed and everything integrated. And it's just like this perfect thing. I was like, man, I was blown away by that. Why? Because that's not me. I'm not somebody who is highly organized and structured. It takes a lot for me just to be ready to have to do these Tuesday talks every week with you guys. It's like, oh yeah, it's that time again. I got to get my stuff ready. And so I'm scrambling usually. Today I was cleaning up laundry detergent. But the point is, like, it's some people, they just have, it's just, you see it. Like they're so good at that particular thing. It's just so natural. They just do it and it's not even hardly work to them, right? That's what I mean by your particular identity. You got to get in alignment with who you are. And then that's going to inform, Carolyn, what you do. So in other words, who you are is going to have a direct translation, a direct correlation. It's going to tie in perfectly to a certain degree with doing something. It's not just the fact of being, right? Establishing who I am but it's going to say who I am informs what I do. Okay. All right, let's see here. Andy says, if their mentor is out of alignment, wouldn't be able to lead the shepherd. Yep, sheep be lost their own ways. Exactly. That's why many new enter REI are all over the place and don't get a deal done. See, that's exactly it. And so I just force deals to get done because I'm just like that kind of person, right? I'm just going to drive it to the ground until it either completely blows up or we get something done. So I was able to accomplish certain things in the real estate space simply by not giving up and just pressing forward. But what I learned along the way is that not everything is for me. Not everything's for me. And you know what I also learned? I learned that's okay. It's okay that everything isn't for me. It's okay for me to not have to do every single deal. You see what I'm saying? And so hopefully that kind of makes sense with you guys. And I want to talk a little bit about this investor DNA along those lines. So I talked about these in the PDX REI Group meetup. I talked about these different investor archetypes, right? Like these different types of investors. And we talked about the deal maker, fast, energetic, loves negotiating, thrives in wholesaling and flipping mostly, gets bored with slow strategies. That's me. And you got the wealth builder. They're more of a long-term thinker. They look at things, they study it. They love stability. They love the systems. They prefer predictable cash flow over anything flashy. Then you got that lifestyle investor where they want the flexibility, right? They like the short-term rentals. They like automations, remote operations. They like to be able to fly in and stay at the place. They don't really care where it is as long as it's something that's kind of flashy. It's going to make good Instagram shots or just kind of gives them that lifestyle that they're looking for. This is going to be short-term rentals, like I said, that kind of thing. Then you have the visionary, right? These are usually like that developer, big ideas. They see something that a lot of people don't. They're willing to go in it for the long haul and create something out of nothing. They see what doesn't exist yet. You see what I mean? And these people all are involved in real estate in some degree or another. These are different kind of investor avatars, if you will, different types of investors. You have the connector, right? They're the person they're a network builder. They JV really well. They can raise capital. They don't want to manage properties. Then you have the opposite of that person. You have the analytical, the strategist. It's all about the numbers, right? Spreadsheets galore and calculators and everything changing. If we just change this one number here, then everything else changes. And very, very analytical. They're strategists. They're very, very risk adverse. They're good at underwriting. They can overthink sometimes, and hesitate, and that can cause loss in certain areas, missed opportunities. Then you have the mission-driven type of investor. They're looking at impact-focused type of deals, right? Where is this going to make an impact? This is like housing crisis. We're going to address that. Homelessness. We're going to address that. Sober living type of things that actually have significant, meaningful impact. And these folks are very community oriented. They're usually working in a lot of different things. They have connections with government entities and the mayor and all this stuff. And that's where they end up going because they are oriented that way. And so the point I'm trying to make here is like every one of us has, to a certain degree, I would say just about every one of us has at least one predominant feature, like one area that we really kind of resonate. It's the deal maker, it's the wealth builder. You're the lifestyle investor, you're the visionary developer, you're the connector, the people person, you're the analytical strategist, you're the mission driven person. Whichever one you are, you're probably that. And also you're a certain amount of some other. Okay, so what I mean by that is, I didn't mention this the other night at the PDX REI Group presentation, but this is actually really true. You're typically going to have at least two of these, but one's going to be more predominant than the other. And this really comes from who you are as a person. And so what's really, really cool is this. If you can kind of figure out who you are as a person, then you can lean into that particular area and the opportunities that present themselves in alignment with that particular type of personality, that type of identity. And those deals tend to be better deals for you because that's who you are. By the way, if you kind of learn how you are and learn what you're kind of short on, like for me, like I mentioned, I'm not super organized. So you know what I need? I need somebody in my life and my business that's super organized, very structured. They're not risk takers. They just want to have the systems in place. They're willing to take all my crazy ideas and put it into some kind of a filter. The concept is not new. It's certainly not original. We see this in the book Rocket Fuel. You guys have probably heard about that. You have the visionary and you have the integrator. These things work really, really well when they work together. But the point is, you kind of have to figure out which one you are. By the way, I'm just gonna check the comments real quick. Anybody feel like they know which one they are? Check the comments here. Carolyn says, I wear a few hats in an unprecedented transitional time. Gotcha. Just not making active income right now. I hear that. I remember you talking a little bit about your husband and his job and maybe, having some things change there. Carolyn says, mission driven investor that's kind of who she is. I love that. Carolyn, it's so good that you could see that, and it's funny too, how when you hear it, you're like, that's me. That's kind of the thing I am. And a connector. Yep, absolutely. Andy says, if someone is still unsure of who they are, ask people in your network of friends. Oh, this is so good, but be ready for some hard truth, right? Your investor friends, your family, your network, they might tell you something that you're not wanting to hear. Why? Because sometimes we have that visual of what it looks like to be successful in real estate. And I want to tell you guys this, most of you are following people who and I'll be careful about how I say this, but most of you are following people on Instagram or on Facebook and in places where the reason why you know about them is because they're out there putting themselves out there, right? And the reason why they're willing to put themselves out there is because this is the kind of person that they are, right? They kind of figure out this is who I am. So the reason why some of you are not on social media and you're not putting yourself out there in that regard is simply because it's just not you. Don't worry about people saying, oh, you got to be doing this. You got to be doing this. Now, I didn't say you shouldn't. I'm just saying if that's not you, if that's really, no, again, don't give yourself an excuse. It might be that is you. By the way, we're talking right now, right? We're having this dialogue, and I would have sworn up and down, you'll never see me on social media. That's not me. That stuff is so stupid. I'm not, and like, yeah, here I am. Well, what I realized is I had an aversion to that based on public perception and based on some of my friends and family network and what they might think of me if I put myself out there. It wasn't really because it was not who I am. I find it very natural. I find it very easy to be doing this because it's kind of who I am. I had to learn some things, of course, and I'm still learning some things. But in reality, the thing is that I had an aversion to it for a long time because of what I thought other people would think or say, not necessarily because it just wasn't me. Now, some of you, it ain't you, and that's okay. Maybe you don't need to be in this spot, but you know what you should do? You should find out what spot you need to be in and get involved in that area. So, Carolyn says, recognize what I have done, what I'm drawn to. There you go. Also, I love people. I don't really love being out there on social media, but man, I love people. See, I love that. Carolyn, you're recognizing some things. That's, I'm a connector. I like that missions driven type of stuff. That's it. So that's what we talked about at the last week, at the last month's, the last week, I guess now, meetup in Portland. And if you guys are in the Treasure Valley area, we're going to be hosting, I'm going to be hosting with some fellow real estate investors, a realtor here, a friend of mine. I'm going to be hosting the first 2026 TV REI group. So we have the PDX REI group in Portland. I'm going to be hosting the first TV REI group, Treasure Valley Real Estate Investors Group, right here in Meridian. And that's going to be February 5th at 6 p.m. If you guys would be interested, if you're interested in that, let me know. I'll drop the comment. I'll reply to your comments. If you say meetup, then I will give you the link to getting registered RSVP for that. By the way, that's going to be a small room from what I understand. And so limited seating. Make sure you get signed up. Make sure that you get involved early. But I'm going to be going over some of this in more detail. For the rest of you that can't be there with us on February 5th, but you'd like to learn more, what I've done is I've got the framework in place for what I'm calling my Discover my investor DNA guide or handbook. Okay. Not going to be super deep, not going to be super extensive, but I think it'll give you guys, if you're curious about this, I think it'll give you at least an idea of how to start shaping which direction you want to start focusing in. So if you guys want that, then what I need you to do is I need you guys to make a post here on this show today. I need you guys to make a post, say, hey, say DNA, okay? Capital D, capital N, capital A, say DNA, and I will get you that guide as soon as I have it finished. I'm this close to having it done. I had a few people that mentioned it last week. I'm working on a little bit more this week, but if you guys want that, make sure you get on my list. I'm going to be giving out, that's going to be free. It's not going to be a charge. It's not going to be an upsale or anything like that. But if you want it, and you want to really kind of hone in on this year, then just comment DNA below, and I'll make sure that you guys get that as soon as we have it ready. Andy says, I'd rather not disclose on who, but many of the influencers are fake, and yes, they are fake. Based on a deeper research on each, do as they say, but not as they do. Yeah, that sounds familiar, right? I think Jesus had some of those same kind of folks in his day too. He says, do what they say, don't do what they do. Okay, Carolyn, I see you, Meetup and DNA. I see both of those. I'll get that out to you, Carolyn. Looking forward to seeing you. That's going to be February 5th for the local meetup, and I know you'll probably be able to make it because you're in the area. Guys, if you're in the Boise, Treasure Valley area, February 5th, we're having our first of 2026 REI Group meetup. Comment meetup. I'll get you the details. If you're in the Portland area and you want to know when the next PDX or Portland area meetup is, then type in PDX, and we'll get you that information for the next meetup too. But anybody, doesn't matter if you're here in the local area, you just want to get us, it's going to be a PDF. I'll send it to you guys whenever it's done. But if you want to know, what is my investor DNA? What does it look like? Comment DNA below, and I'll get that out to you guys. That's about it. That's what I got for you guys today. So hopefully that makes sense. Just kind of following up on that. Looking forward to seeing everybody at the upcoming meetup. Again, you want to get out to the meetup, you have to RSVP. I'll send you the link. Just remember, guys, you're probably not as far behind as you think you are, or as it feels like. You're not broken. It's not like real estate doesn't work for you. You're probably just not in alignment with your particular assignment. So figure this stuff out, start leaning into that, and watch things begin to kind of click and start working together. So appreciate you guys. I will talk to you soon. I'm going to jump off, get to my next appointment. Got some leads that I'm going to be walking next week. I'll talk a little bit about that. And hope you guys have a great day. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to just keep on making remarks. But I'm going to sign off. Got to get to it. God bless you guys. Have a great rest of your week. Take care.